Hi, friends. Today, I've got a story to tell you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. The phone slipped from my hand and hit the desk with a loud clatter. I could still hear Marcus laughing through the speaker, sounding proud of what he thought was a huge betrayal. My name is Diana Chin, and my husband had just given away my family's beach house to his 26-year-old girlfriend. "You're so quiet," Marcus said, clearly enjoying himself. "No tears? No begging? I thought you'd be more dramatic, Dee." I took a deep breath to stay calm. "That house was my inheritance, Marcus. My grandfather built it. At least now it's going to someone who might actually care. You never even went there. You're always too busy with your important consulting work." His words almost made me laugh. The truth was, my so-called little consulting hobby, the one he never took seriously, had secretly helped me buy up shares in his company for the past year. "You're right," I said. "I've been busy. I should go. I have a shareholders meeting to get ready for tomorrow." "Shareholders meeting?" His voice suddenly changed. "What do you mean?" "Oh," I said casually, "didn't you know? I'll be at the Parker Industries annual meeting. See you there, darling." I hung up before he could say anything else. It felt amazing. Marcus had always looked down on me. To him, I was just his pretty wife who smiled at company parties. He never cared to learn what I actually did for a living. When we first met 5 years ago, I was already a successful business consultant. But Marcus, who was then the CEO of his family's company, only saw a woman who he thought was impressed by him. I should have seen the warning signs. How he brushed off my career, constantly talked about how important he was, and interrupted me during meetings to explain things I already knew. But I thought I loved him. Everything changed because of the beach house. 6 months ago, I overheard Marcus talking to Sarah, his much younger VP of marketing, making plans to spend weekends there, at my family's beach house, the one filled with memories from my childhood. That's when I decided to look more closely at what was really going on at Parker Industries. What I found was bad, shady finances, fake growth numbers, and a board too scared of Marcus's last name to say anything. While he was off with Sarah at my beach house, I was meeting with investors, showing them the company's problems, and hinting that maybe it was time for a change in leadership. I picked up my phone and called my lawyer, Rochelle Kim. "He actually did it," I said. "He gave her the beach house." I could hear Rochelle typing. "Perfect. That's exactly what we needed. The property transfer has already been flagged for the SEC investigation." "How did he sound?" I asked. "Cocky. He still doesn't suspect anything." "Nope," Rochelle agreed. "The shareholders are on our side. The board members who switched over are staying quiet. Everything's ready." I looked out the window at the city skyline. The Parker Industries building stood tall. Marcus chose this penthouse so he could look at his family's company every day. "What about the other evidence?" I asked. "The stuff about him and Sarah? The money he spent from the company?" "All set," Rochelle said. "We've got everything. Every trip they took, every gift he bought her using company money, including the beach house renovations. And don't worry, you're getting that house back. The transfer won't hold up in court, especially now that the SEC is involved." I smiled to myself, thinking about how Marcus used to laugh at me for always being so careful and obsessed with keeping records. I once told him, "A good consultant is only as good as their documentation." He brushed it off as one of my weird little habits.
"One more thing," Rochelle said.
"Sarah sold all her shares yesterday, just like you guessed she would. As soon as Marcus gave her the beach house, she dumped everything." "Of course she did," I replied. "Marcus never got it. You can't buy loyalty, but betrayal usually comes with a price." I opened my laptop and looked over my presentation for tomorrow's big shareholders meeting one more time. The numbers were bad. Under Marcus's leadership, Parker Industries was losing money fast, but they'd been hiding it with tricky accounting and the power of the family name. Then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Marcus. "What game are you playing? You're not a shareholder." I didn't answer. Let him wonder. Let him lie awake trying to figure out how his quiet wife, the one he ignored and cheated on, could be a threat to him. The truth was simple but devastating. For the past year, I'd been secretly buying shares of his company through different investment groups and shell companies. Marcus had been so sure of himself, he didn't even notice. By the time he gave my beach house to Sarah, I had enough shares to call for a vote to remove him as CEO. Tomorrow, Marcus Parker would finally learn that the woman he took for granted was the one bringing him down. The beach house was the final straw, the push I needed to put my plan into motion. That night, as I got ready for bed, my phone buzzed over and over. Marcus was probably starting to put the pieces together. I turned the phone off. I thought of something my grandfather used to say about the beach house. The best view comes after the hardest climb. Tomorrow, Marcus would see just how far I'd climbed, while he wasn't paying attention. The next morning was cold and clear. I got to Parker Industries early. The security guards nodded politely. They only knew me as the CEO's wife. That would change today. The boardroom filled up quickly. I sat in the back, quiet. Marcus walked around, shaking hands, smiling like he always did. But something was off. His smile looked tight, forced. His eyes kept flicking to me, clearly confused and maybe a little nervous. Sarah walked in last. She wore a fancy designer dress I recognized. Marcus had bought it using company money. She hesitated when she saw me, but quickly sat next to him like nothing was wrong. Marcus stood at the head of the table and said, "Before we start, I want to address something strange. My wife seems to think she has a place here today." I stood up. "Actually, Marcus," I said, "you're the one who's confused." I turned to Rochelle. "Would you pass out the documents?" My lawyer handed out folders to everyone at the table. Inside were all the receipts, proof of Marcus's poor leadership, his affair with Sarah, how he used company money for personal gifts and trips, and all the shady financial tricks they'd used to cover it up. And most important of all, proof that I now own the majority of the company's shares. "This is insane," Marcus shouted, flipping through the papers. "These shares, this can't be real." "I would have known. Would you?" I said, walking to the front of the room. "You were too busy buying beach houses for your girlfriend to notice your wife becoming your biggest shareholder." The room went silent. The board members were reading the documents carefully, their faces getting more serious by the second. Sarah had gone pale. She must have realized the shares she sold were part of my plan all along. As the majority shareholder, I said clearly, "I'm calling for an immediate vote of no confidence in Marcus Parker's leadership, and I'm asking for his removal as CEO." "You can't do this," Marcus said, but his voice had lost its edge. "This is my family's company." "It was your family's company," I said, "until you started using it like your personal piggy bank. The SEC is already looking into everything, the trips with Sarah, the fake accounting. It's all in there." One by one, the board members raised their hands in support of my motion. Marcus could only watch as his power slipped away. Sarah quietly got up and left. I knew her resignation would be waiting on my desk in the morning. "Why?" Marcus whispered. "Was it really just about the beach house?" I laughed, short and sharp. "No, Marcus. The beach house was just the last straw. This is about every time you talked down to me. Every time you acted like I didn't understand business. While you were playing CEO and sugar daddy, I was building something real. And you never saw it because you never really saw me." The vote was unanimous. Security came to escort Marcus out. As he walked past, I turned to the board. "Parker Industries has been pretending everything's fine for too long. I've created a full plan to fix things and make this company truly successful again. My team will contact every department head today." A few hours later, when the boardroom was empty and things had calmed down, I sat in Marcus's old office. "My office now." My phone buzzed, a message from the real estate lawyer. The beach house transfer was canceled. It was legally mine again. Another buzz. The SEC had officially opened a case and wanted to meet with Marcus. I opened a photo album I kept in my desk, pictures of my grandfather standing proudly in front of the beach house he built himself. He used to say, "Success isn't about what you own. It's about what you build." I'd built something, all right. Not just a thriving consulting business, but a plan that saved Parker Industries and showed Marcus exactly how wrong he was. My phone buzzed again. A message from Marcus. Finally. I underestimated you. I typed back. You did. The beach house keys are in your office box. Don't forget your company ID. I closed the album and looked out the window. Marcus had picked this office for the view because he liked looking down on everything. I kept it because it reminded me that the best views come after the hardest climbs. The next morning, I arrived early, like always. But this time, when I walked through the Parker Industries lobby, people didn't just nod politely. They looked at me with respect. Good morning, Miss Chen, the security guard said, using my maiden name. The name I used to build my business. The name I was reclaiming now that the divorce was in motion. Good morning, Tom, I said, stepping into the elevator. As I rode up to my office, I thought of Marcus, probably waking up in some expensive hotel, finally realizing what he'd lost.
Not just the job.
Not just the company. But someone who could have been a real partner if he'd ever treated me as one. The beach house would need repairs. Sarah's changes had ruined a lot of what made it special. But that was okay. Like my grandfather used to say, the best things in life are the ones you rebuild yourself. I had a company to run now. And this time, it would be built on something solid. Ready to begin? Rochelle asked, meeting me at my office door with the day's plans. I smiled, thinking of everyone who had ever underestimated me. I've been ready for a long time, I said. Let's build something real.